Hey, what's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying the Be the Difference podcast. If you are, I got a huge favor to ask. Go on to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review for us. It helps us immensely with algorithms and growth because we grow completely by word of mouth, organically. That's why there are no ads. Also, feel free to share this content with somebody you think might get value out of it. Last, if you don't know, I also do coaching to help people become the best version of themselves, starting with physical fitness, going all the way through mindset, sales, and leadership. If you're interested in learning more, there's going to be a link in the description of the podcast. You can schedule a time. It's a free assessment. All I'm going to do is have a conversation with you and see if I can even help you. I look forward to speaking to all of you. Continue to enjoy the podcast, and remember to always be the difference. What's up, everybody? It's Greg Birch with Delta Financial, and this is the Be the Difference podcast. This podcast is all about making you a better person in your life and in your business with coaching on sales, leadership, mindset, marketing, everything under the sun. When it comes to being an entrepreneur, we bring on guest speakers. Today, I've got the honor and pleasure of welcoming Mr. Jeff Kikel. Jeff, how are you?
How are you, brother? Good to see you, man.
It's good to see you too, man. I'm excited to have you on and hear a little bit about your story and share it with the audience.
It's been a crazy journey, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hasn't it for all of us?
Yeah, it definitely has. I will say this last year was really crazy. So it'll be fun to tell the story. So
nice. So we'll jump into that. But first, for those of you that don't know Jeff, let me go and introduce him. Jeff has been an investor, financial planner, and entrepreneur for 30 years. After working for others for 20 years, Jeff wrote his first book, quit his job, and went on a 7-year journey that led him to found 6 companies, sell 2 of those for a 7-figure exit, and gain his financial and time freedom. Through his Freedom Day method, Jeff is teaching others to follow his path and reach their freedom days in less than 10 years. Jeff, I love it. I want to hear about this Freedom Day method.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it all started, about, I guess, 2008, 2009, everybody got wiped out in the stock market. I come from the traditional wealth management world, which is, hey, just put your head in the sand. Don't worry about it. It'll come back over time. And what I started to hear from my clients was, the older ones were like, crap, I'm screwed. I'm never going to get to retire at this point. So retirement for them became this thing that they were never going to reach. They're going to work forever. And no matter what you told them, they just weren't buying it. And the newer generation, the younger generation, was all about, well, I just want to get done now. I don't want to work for 40 years. I just want to be done now. And, talking about traditional retirement with them wasn't working. And I started to have conversations with people. And it really started with one client that I said, you've reached your freedom day. I mean, you can't screw this up. And I saw this little smile on their face. And this has been years of talking about retirement and, kind of getting that. And I saw a smile on when I said Freedom Day. And he's like, Freedom Day, what do you mean? I said, well, you woke up this morning and you didn't have to get up and go to work today. You have a work optional lifestyle. And from that, it really became some principles and theories and things in my own life that I was practicing. And, when I first started in the industry, I started in financial services in 94 after getting out of the military. And, I started looking at, well, I want to, retire at 55 and I'm going to do this. And, somewhere in the middle there, I realized, oh shit, this isn't going to work. I'm going to be working until I'm in my 70s. And when I kind of jumped off the deep end and founded a couple companies and invested in real estate and continued to invest in the markets, but that was more for longer term. All of a sudden, 7 years later, I turned 55 and I'm like, holy shit, I am done. I don't really have to work today if I didn't want to. I have enough passive income that if I just goofed off for the rest of my life, I'd be fine.
Yeah. Awesome. And so you mentioned before we started that you had a wild ride last year.
Oh yeah. It was,
Let's talk about
well,
this.
so this was,
I'm intrigued.
it was, so going into the year, I'm like, okay, we survived COVID, life is good. I had a financial practice that I've owned for 7 years, which have been doing extremely well. We did great during COVID. And then I own a co-working space, which, okay, you own something where people come to in the middle of a pandemic, not so much. And, we got through all that. We survived. We actually thrived during that time period. But last year, as I was starting to kind of go through all of this with Freedom Day and really codify it and building a book, that'll be coming out in about a month or so, my business partner is like, hey, why don't we go have a beer? Hadn't had one in a while. So we go have a beer, and I'm like, oh, it's just our usual. And he drops the bomb. I want to buy you out of the practice because I don't think you're really focused on this anymore. And I'm like, so I go through this, the 7 stages of grief. Well, I built this, and well, whatever. And then finally, it was like, screw you. I'll leave and go build another business and all that. Well, we went through the process of him buying me out of the business, and that really truly gave me that Freedom Day. And I mean, it was kind of a gift in the long run. But I went through this kind of weird existential crisis for, almost 6 months, basically. But what it ended up helping me to do was actually codify and create the Freedom Day method. What you need to do to get there. And the last piece of that was what I hadn't ever done and what I'd been doing wrong with clients, which was you've got to have intention in life. And one of the, I kept saying last year was a weird God year. And every time something was screwed up, something got presented to me that helped along the path. And so literally a week after all this happens, I go to this event, an industry event. I'm sitting there and, I walk in, it's at this beautiful resort in California where I've never been before. I'm there without my wife. I'm going to be here for a week. So I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anybody. I'm pissed off at the world. And they hand me this bucket list journal. And I was like, yeah, that's interesting. There was a guy speaking at the event that was a bucket list guy. And so I was like, well, what the hell? I've never done this before. So I literally sat there for 4 days while I was in and out of events writing this bucket list. Number 23 on the bucket list was I want to have a private concert with the Eagles. So I'm like, okay, that one's never going to happen, but it's nice to put it on there, shoot for the moon. So I go to dinner that night, and they have a big event every year at this conference. And, we're sitting there, and they have this whole sight and sound and, food and all this in this beautiful garden. And I'm sitting there talking to this guy, and next thing I hear, all right, and we're bringing to the stage Don Felder from the Eagles. And I'm like, okay, I never thought this would ever happen. So my actual favorite Eagle of all time was there. And so, yeah, it was just amazing night. But it was the final piece of the pie for Freedom Day. I call, it's financial freedom, what everybody wants, time freedom, and then freedom of intention, which is being intentional in life and putting those little crackers for you down the road so that you'll keep on the path, which I've been doing. That's what the retirement industry does wrong, is they're like, oh, well, the cracker's like, 40 years out, and nobody will stay focused on it. But if you give them crackers along the way and you teach them to do that, people will stay on track, and a lot of people will go out of their way to reach their Freedom Day faster so that they can do some of those big ticket deals.
Yeah, that's awesome. This seems very law of attraction, manifestation-ish.
Yep.
Yeah. You wrote that shit down, and you're like, never happened.
Bam. And I mean, literally the afternoon that I wrote it down, it happened. It's like, okay, I'm done. I'm writing everything I can think of on there, and more of those kind of weird things have happened. But, so that's what I do now. I sold the practice, really kind of reshuffled my life around, sold a couple more of my businesses off, closed a couple, really focused down to 3 businesses that kind of are supportive of each other. Yeah. And, it's what I'll spend the rest of my life doing, is teaching people to do what I did, hopefully in less than 30 years.
How's your relationship with that partner that bought you out now?
It's much better now. It was really, it was really
tenuous and
cantankerous for 6 months because we were back and forth. Well, we agreed on a price, and then he was having trouble with getting the financing for it because markets were down and everything else, and it was one of those things where I ended up kind of we came up with a deal that worked out for both of us, and I financed part of the deal, and it's all working out well for all of us. So
that's good, man. That's good. It's good when you can release that, right?
yeah.
Because it's just like that anger, like
Mhm.
don't go you're wrong. Like I can completely understand where that was placed and why, and it was
Yeah.
100% valid and it makes sense. But so I just got done reading The Surrender Experiment by
Ooh, I haven't heard of that one.
Michael Singer,
Yeah.
by Mickey Singer. And this reminds me of like some of the things that happened to him in his life, and how he just kind of like surrendered. It was like, hey, that like life put this in front of me
Yeah.
because like I need to just kind of drive forward. I may not like it,
Yeah.
but I'm just going to accept it and move forward. And like all these beautiful things kind of
Well,
you know,
I look at it in my own life. It took way the hell longer to close the deal than I had ever expected.
Mhm.
But what it did is it forced me, because I mean, basically, I'm not going to work for the old firm and sell more for the old firm at that point because we'd already locked in the price. So what do? I mean, I'm still licensed with the old firm. I can't really do anything with my new firm that I'd created. So I literally just read everything I possibly could. I went through courses and all this kind of stuff. And it just gave me this time to think. And, I've always said the best thing that ever happened to me was COVID. Because before COVID, I was working, I'd say 70 to 80 hours a week.
Mhm.
I basically get up at 6 in the morning, work until 10 o'clock at night, work all weekend long, and was very successful. But when COVID hit, I was like, oh, I'm not jackassing around town anymore, running appointments with clients. I'm meeting with them over Zoom. So I'm a lot more efficient. The co-working spaces, there was no networking to go and do and all that. So life slowed down, and, I started leaving the office at 4 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock every day. And I realized there was a life out there, and that forced me to slow down. And sometimes you got to slow down to speed up.
Mhm. Yeah, slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
There you go.
As the military, what we used to say when we're
Yep.
taking apart our weapons and putting them back together,
Yep.
we used to have this thing where we'd completely disassemble our rifle into all the
Mhm.
different pieces, and then put it back together. Like take your hands off, put it back
Yep.
together, do a functions check, and see if you could do it. Dude,
Mhm.
I got fast, bro. I could do
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I could do it in like 40 seconds.
Well, I could do it blindfolded. We were forced to do it blindfolded, so
Yeah.
I could.
Okay,
I
so
could
you were
feel,
prior military. I'm just gonna
yeah,
tell you the story.
yeah. I could field strip an M4 and
Yeah.
a 45 in less than 10 seconds. So
I was getting fast. So,
yeah,
but it was always like going, you have to go slow. Like
yeah,
you, like do it slow, do it slow, do it slow. And it makes you smooth. And then you can just be
hmm
like, dude,
yeah.
like your hands just find everything. Right.
Well, and like I said, it was a gift for me because I mean, what my partner told me, it was actually true, and I just had to prove it to myself. I'm an entrepreneur. I now realize by nature, I've always been, but I was an entrepreneur inside of companies. But I mean, I was going 20 different directions, and I was doing all these different things, and he's wanting me to totally focus 100% on the practice, and
Mm.
I'm like, dude, I got other stuff going on. I don't have time to do that. We have 17 people that work for us that aren't always necessarily working that hard. So, some of them could take up some of those responsibilities and let me do bigger things. So, it was good because it did force me to sit down and go, okay, what does life look like? What is, where am I driving to? What companies do I have that don't really fit that path?
Mhm.
And then what companies need to be adjusted so that they can fit within those parameters.
Yeah. What industry, financial services were you in?
Well, still am, but a little bit different. So wealth management,
Okay. Okay.
for the last 30 years.
Okay.
Still have a wealth management company. It's just got a little bit of a different tinge to it.
Mhm.
I tend to, you can't save your way to freedom in 10 years or less. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
So, I work with clients, teaching them about real estate, doing different strategies around that. Excuse me, allergies are killing me.
I know the feeling sometimes.
Yeah, well, I live in Austin, the wonderful world of allergies. So,
Yeah.
but
You're just south of me, bro.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I noticed you were in Dallas. It's like, holy crap! But
Yeah.
I know that area. I know the rooftop where you're on in your video on your website.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I used to have an office right around the corner from there. But yeah, I came to the realization I've just got to keep everything kind of pointed in that right direction now.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you let's talk about your business a little bit, about your wealth management business. What's the methods or strategies you're using to help people reach their freedom days?
To their freedom day. Yeah. So, the biggest thing is it's kind of broken down into pieces. So, the first part is I just get them to be real. Most of the time in my past growing up, it was like, you take your client's word for it and say, all right, how much do you spend on a monthly basis? Oh, I spend, $4,000 or $5,000 on a monthly basis. Okay, great. Let's throw that in the financial planning software. Okay, how much have you saved? How much are you saving? Blah, blah, blah. Poof, it all comes out right. But the reality is you're making $150,000 a year. So that's, well over $10,000 a month. You pay a little bit in taxes. Where's that other like $4,000 or $5,000 going? And we just never did go deeper. So now I have them do a very detailed budget for me so that I know they're not lying to me. We look at ways, excuse me, to cut things out of their budget. But we also look at cash flow. And so the difference between savings amount, which is what the entire industry is based on, well, you need to save $2 million or $3 million. We focus on cash flow. So, we look at, all right, here's where your cash flow is today. Let's say you're bringing in 10, you're spending 9. You got some taxes in there. Okay, so you're saving a couple $100 a month. You're never going to make that. So how do we either raise the income level or do we reduce, and we probably want to do a little bit of both. Eliminate what you don't need, keep what you want. Now, once we know where we're at, we can start to do the next step, which is we need to put together a bucket list of very specific things that are on your bucket list that have a price tag. And some of these might be before, and if they're on your bucket list today, there's something you want to get done. And I'll give you a great example in my own life. So I was sitting there last year, I put together this bucket list, and I came to the realization that, there was probably 12 items on my bucket list that all revolved around planes, trains, or automobiles, right? And things I love. And I was like, there's 12 items on there. They all cost roughly, let's call it $500 a month, or $500. So I was like, you know what? If I can just create a cash flow that is at least $500, I can just do one of those each month. And so I went out and I'm like, all right, where can I create $500 quick? And I kind of used a real estate strategy that I'd been thinking about, where I had been thinking about using this. And so I said, well, let's do short or midterm rentals, which I had been kind of looking at, to traveling nurses. So it's kind of a weird little niche area.
Yeah.
Didn't really want to I didn't have at the time a lot of money that was free to buy the real estate. And so I had gone through a seminar in the concept of the seminar was what's called a master lease. And so basically what I did is I started calling people that were in Austin that had rental houses that were within, let's say 5-10 minutes of the hospital district in Austin. And I'd start calling all the people that were, property owners. And I was like, hey, here's what I'm doing. I want to do midterm rentals for these nurses. we can probably keep it rented all year long, but it's going to be different people, and we'll most likely double your rent that you're bringing in today. And all I want is $500 of whatever we do of that rent. So finally found somebody who was like, okay, I'll give you a chance. Let's do it. I'm waiting for, I've been waiting 3 months to lease this place anyhow. So let's make it happen. So we ended up tripling the rent that he had brought in. I made my $500 a month, and I've been every month doing this stuff. So my first one on the list was in November, was driving a Lamborghini at the F1 track here in Austin. And it was like $400 to do that. I don't need a Lamborghini, but I can go drive one. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I want to teach people to do. But once I'm done with that year, okay, I have $500 extra. Well, that's, if I was working a job today, that's $500 towards my Freedom Day. And if I can get people to start doing and thinking that way, that if I can create this income stream, they can eventually and very quickly replace their income on, that they're earning from their job. And as soon as that day that they replace not their income, but what they need to live on, they're free, and you can continue to work if you want, or you can continue to work your job, or let me go off and do more things and cool things, and I took that concept that I created and have turned that into well over about $15,000 a month in income now, because, okay, I just kept using, I was like, hey, work once, let's try it, another 20 times.
And you have a bunch of properties now that you are doing a master lease with.
And I don't own them. I mean, that's the beauty of it. I don't own the property. I just own I own the income stream that comes from there. And for me, what's worked out is literally one of the guys that I started doing this originally with, I mean, he's well into his 80s, kind of getting to the end of like, okay, I need to start selling some properties off. And I was his first phone call. And he's like, dude, you've made me, over the last 3 months, you've made me more money than I made in the last year. He's like, do you want to buy the house? And I was sure. What do you want for it? Well, he ended up, it was free and clear for him. So he's like, well, I'll just finance it for you. I don't need anything. Let's just, keep income coming to me, and I'm good with that. So it's kind of a Trojan horse for me to get in there with some of these property owners.
That's awesome. So this sounds very Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yes. Yes, very much. Yeah. I mean, and I come from the Robert Allen world of no money down, financing and stuff like that. I mean, Robert Allen, I just think is the coolest dude ever. And it's so funny. I mean, all these people that stole his idea, the Carlton Sheets and all those guys that I grew up watching on TV. I never knew until, it was about a year or so ago. I didn't even know where that all came from. And it was Bob Allen. He came up with a lot of these ideas. And then these guys basically took his ideas and stole them and went out and sold it. And, he's the thing is, they're all gone, and he's still going strong at, 70 some odd years old.
So explain that a little bit for the audience that doesn't know the whole no money down and the concept there.
So, I mean, the concept, most people are like, well, I want to get into real estate investing, and, I want to use leverage. That's the advantage, is using leverage. But most people that get into it, and I saw this with my own clients, it's like, if you're going to do it the traditional way to get a loan on a rental property, you're typically going to have to put down 20%. So with the way real estate's gone up, I mean, that could be $80,000, $90,000 today to get a pretty simple rental property. So, you look at return on investment, and it's like, okay, I've just plunked down 90 grand, and, I'm making, let's say, free and clear, maybe $400 a month. Well, my return on investment's complete crap at that point. So no money down strategies are looking at, okay, how can you, that 20%, how can you figure out ways to where you don't have to pay that 20%? And one of the best strategies for that is literally, you work with the owner and sit down with them and say, oh, here's some alternatives. I don't want to put a lot of money down on this right now. I want to keep my capital working for me. Would you be willing to take back a second mortgage at a higher rate? What I would do typically is 10% in today's world. So I mean, somebody that's on retirement or somebody that's in retirement, I mean, 8 or 10% is a pretty good deal on, let's say, $40,000 or $50,000. And you improve the property, you get a renter in there, or you do a midterm lease like this. A few years out, you can refinance it. Especially if rates go back down, you can refinance it. They get their money. You get a better performing property, or it goes up enough in value that you sell it and clear that thing out. So there's just a ton of strategies that you can use with it.
That sounds awesome. This is like fascinating to me. This is probably the one area that I've been very interested in and learning more about, but I do not know much about. And
I didn't until about 5 years ago. And I will tell you, in the last 8 months, I literally absorbed every piece of information I could find on this, and really similar concepts, but different people teaching them, so that I could just cram my brain full of it. And it's just, like I said, for me, it's an amazing world. It allows me to use some of my old tools from the wealth management world, and specifically some insurance strategies that I've used. I now kind of meld them into the real estate world. Especially those typical property people. They're always looking to buy property, and they're sitting on $100,000, $200,000 in cash. Well, I mean, some infinite banking insurance strategies and stuff like that you can do that gets that money earning better for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm in the insurance industry, so understanding like the infinite banking concept with what can be done with like cash value life insurance or index universal investments, stuff like that, is fantastic. Like it really is good what you can do. People just don't understand it, and that's what's sad, is that there's so much potential out there, so many vehicles really to invest, make money, and like grow your money that people just aren't aware of.
Well, that's it. I mean, I blame the financial industry in a lot of cases. Stepping back for a while and really not focusing on the financial industry and really looking at a lot of these things. And, I realized that most of the financial education in this country was created by insurance companies and mutual fund companies. So what's the end goal for an insurance company or a mutual fund company? It's to acquire assets. And so they teach the concepts of, well, you need to save into these investments, but they kind of take the cash flow part and just separate those away. And, don't worry about that, because you're saving in your retirement accounts and you don't want to pay taxes. And what I started to learn is, okay, let's stop focusing on the acquiring of all these assets, and let's focus more on what's going to create a predictable cash flow, and preferably a passive cash flow, so I don't have to actively be in there doing it. And I went from, okay, I had a paycheck coming in every month, to, the scary thing that everybody thinks is so terrible was I had to create my paycheck. And, after about 3 or 4 months, I realized, wow, this is way easier. And I'm not waking up at night worrying about, if I lose my job, what am I going to do? All I have to do is worry about, how am I going to find more clients to pay me more so I can make more money.
Which is a powerful feeling to have.
It's a very powerful feeling.
Whenever you make that switch.
Now when you're like 18 months out and you get out of the first year, which is you don't make crap. And I did it the hard way. I just quit my job. I had the worst boss I'd ever had. And I just literally was like, screw this. I can't take it anymore. I quit. And I went and started 2 businesses at the same time. I would not recommend that to anybody in the audience. And, really they were in 2 drastically different industries, which ended up confusing all my clients and not understanding what I do for a living. But after I kind of figured that out, we started to pick up speed a little bit, but there were some tough years at the beginning of it. That's a big reason why I teach people now. It's like, okay, keep your job. You've got 161 hours during the week that we all have. Every one of us has 161 hours. You work for 40 hours. Let's just say you have a normal job. You work for 40 hours. Let's say you sleep for 40 hours. So that's 80. What are you doing with that extra 80 some odd hours every week? And could you not spend a few hours a night focusing on how to create some income streams, whether it's starting a business, doing, selling stuff on the internet, getting into real estate? There's a ton of different ways to do it. And, start creating that income. And then once you get enough that it replaces what your nut is every month, you're free. And then you get to make a choice.
I love it. That is awesome. So for everyone listening, what would you say are some good strategies? I mean, you kind of went over some when it comes to wealth management. So to give you some context, most of the people here that are listening are going to be young entrepreneurs, solopreneurs starting their 1099 journey, or they're at the beginning, or they're in the first year, right? Like, so people kind of range from like people that are like looking to start and they're like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, trying to like make that jump out of the 9 to 5 to people that are currently in it and they're doing it within their first year or so. There's probably some that are outliers from that, obviously, but what are some financial strategies or tips that you can give them that will help them on their journey to be more effective?
Well, first, be real about your budget. Okay, I talk to young people all the time, and I coach them and work with them as clients. And the biggest thing is, okay, well, you need to save. Well, okay, I didn't need to save. Yes, you need to save. And the reason I'm saying save is you need to put aside a little war chest for yourself so that you can use that money to make more money. Second, look at your rates of return. If you want to retire in, let's say, or to get to your freedom day in 10 years or less, you can't do that in the stock market at 8-9%. You've got to find other ways of making money. And so that is, typically if you want double-digit returns, you can get those most times in the real estate market. I would look at ways to create income or capital out of the blue without having to invest a lot of it. The way I started investing in real estate originally was doing wholesaling. So I learned how to wholesale. So what does that mean? It means I'm the one that's out there hustling and finding people that are looking to sell a property. And a lot of times these are not the nicest place. So it's the one that you drive around in the neighborhood and it's got grass that's, halfway up your waist and is beat up and everything else. Well, there's real estate investors out there that are fix and flippers. They're the ones that they want to find a property that's really beat up and then they'll fix it and then flip it over to somebody else. Well, I don't want to be in that business. I hate that business. I don't want to take the time to do that. I don't have the time in my schedule. So what I did is I started going out there and wholesaling. And so I would go and find a list. So there's software where you can go and find like everybody in a specific area and with specific criteria, like, okay, they bought the house 20 years ago. Okay. So if they bought the house 20 years ago and they're still the original owner, chances are they probably got quite a bit of equity in that property. And if it's beat up and crappy, that's a great person to say, hey, would you be interested in selling your house at that point? And as a real estate wholesaler, I want to get them to agree to, let's say, sell it to me for 70% of what the fixed up value would be, or maybe even less, 60%. They agree to that. I then go out and I've got a whole list of real estate investors and flippers that I work with. I put it out to my crowd and say, hey, here's the deal. Here's what I think it's going to be when it's fixed up. Here's what price I'm willing to sell it at. And I can make a quick $5,000 to $10,000 or $20,000 in some cases, especially in this market over the last couple of years, $20,000. Okay. I didn't have, and literally I didn't spend any money. I didn't have to get a mortgage. All I did was get a contract with the original owner. I have a clause in that contract that says I have the ability to assign it to somebody else. That person's got cash in most cases, so they can close right away. Literally, some of these deals I've closed have been 3 to 5 days, and I'm walking away with a check. So that was a great way. I'm not building overall wealth over time, and it is a hard job and it's hard work. But for somebody that doesn't have any money, it's a great way to get started. And so I started my real estate part of my business doing that, and we still do that today. Then we started looking at other ways, and I've I just get exposed to a lot of different properties. In some cases, it might be one that I'm like, I would rather own this one myself. It's pretty easy fix up. We'll buy that property, we'll invest in that property, and then there's some strategies I use around lease options and things like that. So I typically don't hold properties longer than about 2 to 5 years. In those cases, I'm going to hand that off to somebody that couldn't quite get a mortgage at the beginning. We work with them, and this is part of my financial coaching. We work with them to get their credit ready. And then, 2 years, 3 years down the road, we put them in place. I've got a mortgage company that I work with that's a little bit more liberal with their approach, and they'll buy the property from me. I get that, I take that, use the tax laws, the 1031 exchange, and put that into another property and not have to pay the capital gains taxes on it.
Nice. I assume that a lot of this you learned when you went to some of these seminars. And
Absolutely. I was telling somebody today, I was teaching some real estate agents social media tactics, and I was telling them, I was like, I've one thing I've learned over this is a big thing that I learned over the last year, and the biggest thing. Literally every third book I read now is on taxes and understanding taxes. If you don't understand taxes, my best thing I would tell you is read Rich Dad's tax, I think tax investing or something like that. It's actually written by Robert Kiyosaki's tax guy, his CPA that he works with. And I learned an immense amount from him. And then literally now I literally every third book is now something on taxes and understanding the tax rules and how all that works.
Yeah. And for the audience that's listening in, this is something I've been interested in. So I would highly recommend finding out, there's all kinds of seminars that teach this,
Good God. Yeah.
And they don't cost a lot. I want to say you can probably get in some of them anywhere between $1,000 and $3,000.
So here's why. Yeah. And I don't even think you need to spend that much. The one that I think has been the best value for the dollar is a place called cashflowdepot.com. They have a $299 lifetime membership to this. And they have some of the most innovative, just really outstanding people come on. And I mean, these are not theoreticians that you go to the big seminar and the guy's talking about, oh, you can, do all this stuff. Yeah, that's great. But these are actual practitioners in the field that are doing this stuff. And like they have inside of there, they have some premium content. There's like 300 300 recorded seminars, like webinars and things like that they've done. And they just have this huge library, and literally on every possible topic you can think in the industry. That was where I found out about master leasing. And that has literally changed my life. It was funny because when I was leaving, I was selling the business, and I'm like, crap, I'm not going to have any income anymore. And I don't worry about that now because I was in literally about 4 months, I created $10,000 in income per month, recurring revenue. So I don't sweat it anymore from that case. So
how much extra work do you do with the current tenants and like getting them in, getting them out?
Very little. We have about 27 properties right now. I probably spend maybe 5 hours a week doing that. So, I mean, I look at my hourly rate of return, $10,000 a month for 5 hours worth of work. It's a pretty damn nice, way better than I was making as a company president. So
That's
it's
really nice.
pretty damn bad. Yeah. And I mean, what we did is I actually took a course from a couple in Colorado that's in like the smallest freaking town in Colorado. And they started using this concept because they're in a resort area. And the two of them manage like 400 properties in this little bitty town in Colorado. And it's just the two of them that do it. And they're like, yeah, we spend about 10 hours a month, and they do short-term rentals. So, that's turning people over a lot faster. With the midterm rental stuff I do, typically we get somebody that's going to be there for anywhere from 30 to 90 days on a contract. So, you don't really turn them over. It's not like running a hotel. It's basically an apartment or a house. So they're responsible for cleaning it. They're responsible for minor maintenance and everything else. And if anything really breaks, I've got a whole team of people that, can come in. I've got plumbers, electricians, handymen that I can bring in there to get that stuff done. So I'm not cleaning toilets, and then every 90 days, let's say that person's like going back home. Okay, they're going to leave on the 31st of the month. I have my cleaning crew there that day. They clean the whole place up. They get it all set up. We have cute little gift baskets we leave for them, and all kinds of stuff that we've done to make them welcome to the town. And the first of the month, the new person moves in, and we'll typically have them there for between 30 and another 90, 30 and 120 days.
This is awesome.
So I'm
going to check out Cash Flow Depot, because this is intriguing to me. I've been ever since I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I was like, dude, I really want to get into this kind of stuff.
Well, the problem with Rich Dad Poor Dad is, Robert makes it sound like it's so easy. Oh, you just do this and this and this. And it's like, yeah, dude, you had a lot of years where well, first off, he had, almost 10 years that he worked at, he was like a top sales guy at Xerox. And, so he didn't just quit and all of a sudden invest in property. And it took him a lot of years to figure it out, because when he moved to California, him and Kim lived in their car for a bit while they were trying to get that stuff up and running. But, like I said, I just started to look at, what are the important things to me? I don't mind being a landlord if I have systems in place so that I am not the one. The biggest mistake most landlords, small ones, make is they're like, well, I can't afford to hire somebody to do this. And I don't have much free cash flow, so I can't, if something breaks, I've got to go clean the toilet. Well, they get burnt out right away. So that was a big thing for me. It was like, okay, I don't want to get into that situation. I want to have other cash flow coming in so that, I get to buy in bulk, so to speak, when it comes to those people that work for me. And they only work for me when I need them. So I can kind of amortize their stuff across a bunch of properties. And I wanted to focus on cash flow first instead of, focusing on, well, I'm acquiring this, $3 million portfolio of assets. Yeah, but you're still, I've met people that have had $2-3 million in asset, or, in the real estate, and they're, basically real estate poor. Their cash flow is crap. So they can't quit their job, or if they do, they're kind of living really bad. So, focus on things that can generate cash flow first. So if you're just getting started, look at wholesaling. It's a great way to learn. It's a great way, start getting involved in investment clubs. Go to Real Estate Depot or, cashflowdepot.com and just start digging into some of that training. And just, if something kind of interests you, they've got a couple of good ebooks on there that get, getting started, but then you can go in there and say, well, I want to learn about master leases. Okay, well, let me go to that folder and I can look at every training that they have. And it might be by 3, 4, or 5 different people. And it's great kind of hearing it from 4 or 5 different people's perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you figure out what's good for you.
Yeah. This has been chock full of value. I know that I got a lot. I know the audience is listening. They're getting a lot. If anyone wants to follow you or learn more content or kind of, reach out to you, what's the best place to connect with you?
Couple places. Connect with me on LinkedIn. It's just Jeff, Kikel. on Instagram. I'm out there. That's kind of it's my place where it's my happy place. You get to learn a little bit about me. And then my podcast is freedomnationpodcast.com. So that's the world of Freedom Day. We talk about everything there, and we're just about ready to launch a YouTube channel,
Nice.
which will be the Freedom Nation the Freedom Nation YouTube channel, where we're going to really share some of this. And I recorded a lot of podcasts where I recorded the videos, and there will be a best of series of some of the coolest people I've met.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'll be looking forward to when you launch that YouTube channel. Now, last question I ask all my guests is, if you have the opportunity to sit with and learn from, break bread with, have a conversation with 3 individuals, anyone in history, alive or deceased, who would they be and why?
Benjamin Franklin, because he was a great entrepreneur, great writer. Elon Musk, because I just think he makes me laugh, and I just love his attitude.
Brilliant.
Oh, absolutely brilliant. And probably Stephen Ambrose, because I'm a historian by nature, and I loved all of his books.
That's a good one.
And wish I'd had the opportunity to meet him.
That's a good one. I love those. I love all 3 of those. Well, for those of you watching, I need you to do me a favor. I want you to share this content, because there's a lot of value here. There's a way that you can follow a lot of the steps that Jeff is talking about right here, and you can find your Freedom Day, and you can share this with other people that they can find their Freedom Day. So go check out his podcast. Give Jeff some love. Follow him on LinkedIn. Follow him on Instagram, and share this content. It takes 60 seconds for you to rate, review, subscribe, and share, but it means the world to both Jeff and I. This has been the Be the Difference podcast. I'm your host, Greg Birch. Until next time, we'll see you.